All right, so we're going to think about the myofascial meridians today with a little tonic and phasic on the side. So your tonic muscles are your muscles that are going to be postural and like loads a little bit more loaded weight to keep them strong with slower movement. And the phasic are more functional muscles, which are going to like less weight and a little bit more hyperactivity. And so that's how I'm going to teach you my technique of training so that when you're doing any workout, you can utilize these principles so that you don't get overuses and start building posture into phasic muscles or doing too much hyperactivity onto postural muscles. So this is the deep line core, and I've done a very remedial job of coloring it for you. So I'm going to just give you some simple anatomy. So we're going to start at the big toe, and we're going to move through the deep line, traveling up into the deep lower leg. I'm not going to get into the muscles on this because I just want you to envision it. This is going to go deep inside the inside thigh and then into the pelvic girdle. And I made this pretty big just so that you can understand that it's, the girdle into the center carriage of, like, if you put a small ball inside right where the between the two bones of the pelvis, and it has the hip flexors in there and some of the lower back muscles up in here. And then you're going to go into let me explain what the red is too. The red means that these are postural muscles. So you can see that right up through here, these are deep postural muscles. And then we hit the diaphragm, and yellow basically means that there's no categorization for it yet, or that I know of. Somebody out there may have categorized, but as far as the research that I've done with Vladimir Janda and some of the college researches that I've looked up, I don't see that this is either postural or phasic. It's more likely a little of both. The pericardium of the heart, which is why we don't want to hold deep core into any type of movement. One of the reasons why I don't do planks is because I feel that it really stresses out the pericardium of the heart, and I like my core exercises to be systematically pumping. And then we go up through the chest and then into the front of the neck, the deep muscles of the neck. There's a muscle in here that's phasic, that's part of it, in the front of the neck, and then into the jaw, and then we go straight out the head. And you want to think about that as like a plumb line that's lifting you upward. And then on the back, you can see there's the same deep. There's two muscles at the back of the knees that aren't classified, and then going up into the deep inner thigh, and then into the deep lower back. And then it goes inward from this point into the inside of the spine and out the top of the head. I just wanted to give you a visual on that. So also you can see that there's a lot more red postural muscles in here, which gives you the visual that the body is being held up a lot by that central deep line core. And that's why we want to keep that part of our exercise program, but also make it part of your weight training without identifying it too much on its own, like with a plank or with some of these held squats against walls and things like that. This group works enough when you're doing system squats with repetition, or leg pressing, or lunging. It works a lot in those because it's got to hold that central part of the body together. It has to have the pelvis and the torso working together as a unit to hold the body in an upright position. So those are really going to be great exercises for you to stick with, especially at the beginning and as you get older. Now we have the spiral rotational line, and we're going to start at the deep neck, and we have some postural muscle involved there. Moving over to rhomboids, and now we can see rhomboids is a mover. going down to the side of the ribs, into the obliques, and we're going to come back over here because this is continuing. And then we're looking at the inner oblique, which is postural, then going to the front of the opposite hip, which is postural, and then we go down the side of the leg, and here's the IT band, which is really a connective piece of tissue. It doesn't really have a lot of muscle fiber to it, so it connects quite a few muscles together. So this is in limbo. And then we have the peroneus, which is a phasic, and we go back up under the around, we go down, and then we come back up and go into the hamstring, which is postural, through a ligament in the hip, and then postural muscle of the lower back, phasic muscle of the mid-thoracis, and then we go back up into the neck with another postural muscle where we started. And that's your rotational line. And you can see there's a nice combination of both muscles. So we have the stability at the center and the back of the leg and lower back, and then we move outward into some of these phasic muscles with the rotation. So it's a cool visual to see the body now moving into those superficial movers. And now lateral sideline. From the superficial front neck, which is postural, down to the ribs and into the side waist muscles. This is a little postural for the oblique. This is a little bit more phasic for the outer oblique. And then we move into the postural side of the hip, again, down that band on the side of the leg, down to, down to the side, and then going back up. I'll show you from the back now. We have the posture of the side of the leg where we just were, and now you can see glutes are involved, which are phasic, and the side of the waist, and going up through into the back of the neck as well. So those are your lateral lines, and a little bit of, the yellow is either a ligament or a muscle that can do both posture and phasic movement. And then you can see there's a combination of both of these where there's a little bit of posture and a little bit of movement. So it's another interesting line, and one that has a little bit different of a posture into the lower leg. When you stop exercising and you go back into a lateral side movement, these muscles tend to get pretty sore right at the beginning of the movement, and I'll hear people complain about the hips and the lower leg. Their knees will bother them, their hips will bother them, and that is definitely why, because those side muscles of that lower leg may have gotten weak and imbalanced. Also, if you're doing like a side lift, one of the movements that I'll teach with people is moving themselves up sideways like a fish, and that can give you a headache. And these two muscles at the front of the neck are very responsible for some headaches, as well as some of the muscles in the back of the neck. And then the last is the front, back, and arm line. I combine them together because we do the exercise as a one unit. So front line is going to be the scalp down the front of the neck, and then it's going to go down the chest into the abdominals, and then down the front of the center quadricep, down the knee into the front of the lower leg and to the foot, and then the back line I'll continue to go back up the back of the calf into the hamstring, through the glute, into the lower back muscles, and then into the mid erectors, into the upper erectors, and then to the scalp. That's front line, back line. This is arm line, the top of the traps, pecs, deltoids over here, bicep, into those forearm flexors, and then we have the back of the trap again. We have some trapezius and lats into the rear deltoid, tricep, and then the extensors of the arms. So this is kind of like a coloring book on here. We have a nice combination of both. but you can see a lot of the phasic muscle in the center of the torso, and then a lot of the postural muscle at the leg point in front line, back line. So it's just a nice visual. So hopefully this helps you understand a little bit more about how your body works during exercise. And you'll hear me say this quite a bit. When I do the workouts, I will do the central deep line core for 4 counts. I'll do my postural tonic muscles for 2 counts, and I'll do my phasic functional muscles for 1 count. I'll have a little bit of a load when I do, a little bit more of a load when I do my center deep core, and then I will have a little less weight in the movement of the posture, and then light for my phasic. And there you go, and hope that helped. Thank you.